Okay, so in this program we're going to focus on the print document, and I'll just run this really quickly. This is a very simple print document, and basically we have a picture, we have a heading, and just a list of things. Like this will print the months in the print preview dialog. So basically, really most of the code comes into play setting up all the design here. I know it's not an impressive design by any means, but just so you get the idea. Here we have obviously a rectangular canvas, if you want to call it that. And just a reminder that the vertical axis is the y-axis, and the horizontal axis is the x-axis, and up here is the 0, 0 point. So the further you get from the left edge, the x value is increasing, and then the further you get from the top, the y value is increasing. So keep that in mind as we design our document. So hang on here, I'm going to end this, and I'm going to wipe out the code and just kind of bring it in little by little so we can discuss it as we go. So, whoa, I'm getting ahead of myself. Basically, where you want to begin, this is where we left off in the last video. I know it's not the same program, but we had put the two objects, the print objects, into the component tray. And now that you're ready to design your document, you're going to double-click Print Document 1. And the event handler that is generated is the print page, that document's print page event. And this is where all of your design code is going to go. So what I'm going to do is create X and Y variables to kind of keep track of where we are spatially in the document. And, you know, I think what I'm going to do is set X and Y to the document's margin bounds. Obviously, I'm not going to start printing way up here on the edge. You want nice margins around the edges, just like in Microsoft Word. So I'll set X and Y to the margin bound. So here's the code, and let me bring it in here. Okay, so here's my X variable. I'm going to set it to e.marginbounds.left. E has all kinds of stuff in there, for lack of a better term. So this is an argument into the event, and we're going to be using E a lot. He's got like all kinds of tools that are going to be useful, starting with the margin bound. So e.marginbounds.left for the X value, e.marginbounds.top for the Y value. So now I'm ready to begin drawing my calendar picture. I will note that the calendar picture comes from this picture box on the form. We can just grab it out of there. And so basically I'm going to have to create that object. There are probably multiple ways of doing this, but I use a bitmap object when creating pictures for printing. So here I go. I'm going to bring this in. All right, so I have a bitmap. The picture format is kind of an old-fashioned, well, it's an old picture format that's been around for a long time, and we'll call it calendar pic. And then here I'm just plucking that image out of the picture box on the form. And here you can do, you can hand size the image, which is why I like the bitmap object, because you can just size it right there on the spot. So I have 200 pixels wide by 150 tall. And then I want to discuss E.graphics. I said E has lots of stuff available to us, and one of them is E.graphics. We're going to be using this a lot. And this is, you can think of E.graphics as like a little artist with pens and brushes and colors and all kinds of stuff. And this artist can draw bitmaps, text, anything we do, anything we put on that surface, E.graphics is going to be doing that for us. So just kind of picture E.graphics like that in your mind. And so now we're ready to draw the bitmap. So I'm going to paste that code in. E.graphics, there's our little artist. Draw image is the method that we're using. And just real quickly, I'm going to pull the IntelliSense here, and you can see, oh, you know what, actually, well, I'll just do it real quickly down here so you can see everything that E.graphics can do. And just type in D, for example. And then, yeah, not sure why I'm not getting more. Oh, there we go. You can see all of these things E.graphics can draw, all these shapes, all these whatever. So yeah, we're not going to use the vast majority of those, but definitely draw image and draw string for our text. So anyway, he's drawing the bitmap, the calendar, which we called calendar pick, and then I'm specifying the X and Y coordinates. He needs to know, okay, where am I putting this thing on the document? And the X and Y coordinates are already set up against the margin bounds, so that's where the drawing is going to start. So that's going to get us our picture on the document. Okay, let's just run that real quick. Okay, you can see the picture on the document. And now let's begin, let's do a year. At the time of this video, it's the year 2020, and so let's put the year 2020 right here. And so now we have to think about, I think the Y coordinate can stay put, and so it will be kind of even with the top of the calendar picture, but the X coordinate definitely has to move over. I don't want to print it on top of the picture. So I'll definitely want to clear the width of the bitmap and then maybe put 100 pixels, 50 to 100 pixels of white space in between. So let's work on that X coordinate here. Okay, so I'm going to say X is whatever it already is. You don't want to lose your margin space. Okay, so we're keeping X what it is. Plus, we're going to add to that the width of the bitmap. The bitmap is called calendar pick. And it too has lots of properties. The height and the width is what we're interested in an exercise like this. Plus the calendar pick. And then I said, put some white space in between too. So maybe 50 to 100 pixels. And so now the X coordinate is ready to go. I said the Y will stay put. And let's put that heading in. All right. So I'm going to call upon little artist, E.graphics, draw string this time. And we'll hard code 2020. And then, oh, you know what? I forgot to create my font objects. How could I forget that? And my brushes. So definitely for the font, the heading font, I want the year really big up at the top. So I'm going to create a font object. I'm going to call it big font, okay? And then you can experiment with other fonts. I just grab the usual Arial or Times New Roman, whatever. And then you can hard code a number for the size of the font. I said I want this really big. And then also, let's create a brush, which would be like a color brush for we'll put the heading in a different color. So you can create a brush object, and there's a brushes enumeration with lots and lots of colors there. So you can always take artistic license in my class, but I'll make it blue violet. Okay, so anyway, I'm printing, hard coding 2020 to print. I'm going to use my big font object. I'm going to use the brush that I created, my blue violet brush up there, and then the X and Y coordinates. So we'll run that real quick. Okay, and there it is. Okay, maybe not 100 pixels. Maybe I would bring that to 50 to 75, but whatever. I'm just going to leave it like that. And now let's print the months, okay? Let me say this. The months are in the list box. We're going to just grab those right out of the list box and print them using E.graphics.drawstring. But I am going to loop through the list box and grab them one at a time. That's the way to do it. The list box is like an array. I've said this in class. It's like an array you can see. So I'm going to just kind of loop through that array and then print the months as they come. So here we go. All right, first things first. I think I want a different style of font. And then also just a basic black brush. So I'm going to create these near the top. So now I've got the small font for the months. We'll do Courier New. Again, you can use whatever you want and experiment with the fonts. We'll make it an 18-point font, a little smaller this time, and then the brush is going to be a basic black brush. So now, you know, I think for the, well, I'm just going to copy the whole chunk and paste it in here, and we'll talk about it. So this is the loop with which I loop through that list box on the form and grab the months one at a time. So let's look at the setup here. We have our loop counter variable, little I. We're going to keep, and it's starting at 0 because those the list box indexes start at 0. So that's important that you start counting at 0, just like with an array. And then we're going to keep going while I is less than the list box items property or items collection count property, lstmonths.items.count. Okay, in this case, the count is going to be what I've got 6 months in there, so that would give us a number of 6. Okay, so we're going to keep going while we're less than 6. So the indexes or the value of I in that loop as it's going are going to be 0 through 5, which coincide perfectly with the indexes in this list box because it's a 0-based numbering system. Okay, and then our increment, of course. And then again, calling upon our little artist, the drawstring. What is he going to draw for us? Well, reaching right into that list box, LST months, the items property. Look at this. You can just use the loop counter as array index. I've always said that. I've said that many times in class. I know this is not an array technically, but like I said, a list box is like an array. It's like an array we can see. So we're using our loop counter as the array index, or in this case, the list box index. You do have to put a toString on this in order to get it to work. But really, this is us reaching into that list box one item at a time, depending on which iteration of the loop that we're in, and using that loop counter to access that individual item. And then again, I'm just using the font, the small font I created, the black brush. Again, having to put the X and Y coordinates in there. Now, real quickly, I am going to comment this out to show you. This is an important part. If you're doing a print document, and this is what happens. Okay, look at this. I did print the months, but they're all bunched up at the top. We have to advance the Y position. Okay. Oh, in fact, we need to start printing down here somewhere. So I need to advance the Y position even before I start the loop, but also within the loop because you want it to go down a little with every iteration of the loop. Okay. So hang on here. I need to get the Y position before the loop. You know, I think what I'll do is I'll clear the height of the big font. Okay, think about this. If I want them to start about here, I want to clear the height of the big font and then maybe put 50 pixels or so. Maybe I'll do 25 pixels of white space in between, so we'll do that. This is before the loop, getting ready to print those months. Okay, I've got to wrap it up soon. I need to keep this video under 15 minutes. And then I'm also going to advance the Y position in the inside of the loop. So with every iteration, every month that's printed, I'm going to advance a little bit. And here I'm just advancing the size of the small font in which we're printing the months. You know what? I'm not adding any white space, and it looks fine. So I guess there you do get a little bit of room on the edges of the font, so you don't have to necessarily add white space unless you want a lot of white space. So there it is. Looks pretty good. Okay.